Hello and welcome to the Vinyl Sanctuary. My name is Christian and I hope that you will join me in taking refuge in records. So I'm here today with another vinyl hunt video, which is part of a series which sees me going to places far and wide, looking for vinyl and hoping to acquire some great titles for the collection here at home. So this one's quite a special one in that I went abroad. So it's my first video at the time of recording for the channel where I have actually gone overseas to do a vinyl hunt since starting the channel. So it was very exciting to go to Zagreb, which is the capital city of Croatia. It's the first time that I've ever been over to Croatia. So it was a lovely choice. I went there for a few days with my wife Michelle, and it was just what we needed in terms of having a little bit of a break, a bit of a chance to recharge and reset. So I'll tell you a little bit about Zagreb first of all, for anybody who may be interested in that side of things, and then I'll get into the records which I was able to acquire during my trip. So just very briefly, I'm not a travel channel or anything, or making holiday recommendations, but I just thought it might be nice to just to share a few words about my experience of Zagreb. It was a fleeting visit, but I'm already making plans to go back. So the weather was fantastic, a great start. It was 25 degrees for the time that I was there, which makes a bit of a change to the rather dreary weather that we often get here in the northwest of England. I had to laugh when I got back home, landed in Manchester Airport, and it was pouring it down, and it was cold after it had blazing sunshine over in Zagreb and blue skies as well. So that was very much a welcome home moment. As lovely as it was to get back home, um, getting that weather again, it just a little bit of an eye roll, bit of a chuckle, and then onward back to the house. So that was good fun. But regarding the actual trip, so super friendly people over in Croatia was my experience. Real pleasure to talk to. Got into some lovely conversations with people while I was there, talking about music. Visited a good number of record stores. They're in very good supply over there for anyone who might be interested in taking a jaunt over there to go vinyl hunting on their own. I'd recommend it for that. It was really affordable for a capital city. Very very in terms of food and drink choices. It was just if you're planning a little trip on a budget or something, very very affordable indeed. I was very impressed with that. Sort of airport transfers, getting around on the tram, buses, that type of thing. Really really impressed with that. As I mentioned, the weather was great. It was a great city to walk around as well. Felt very safe, very quiet. So I've got nothing but good things to say about that first experience of going over there with Michelle, and I will definitely be returning. It might be nice as well for me maybe in the future to explore other parts of the country. I've heard good things about Dubrovnik. I've heard good things about Split as well. So I'm going to keep my options open. But yeah, for anyone looking for a city break, in Europe, and they like the idea of what I've described, then I would recommend it. And if anyone's got any other questions, again, just if you are interested in that aspect of my journey and you want to maybe pop a question in the comments section, I'd be more than happy to answer it to the best of my knowledge. So let's get into the music then, shall we? So I was there on a Sunday. I was there over a weekend. So I flew out on Saturday from Manchester, landed in Zagreb Saturday night, and then I was there all day Sunday, all day Monday, and then I flew back home on a Tuesday. So during my time in the country, there was a flea market taking place in the big main square, which was not too far away at all from the Airbnb that we booked. It was really really cool to have that on hand. So again, everything amenities and stuff was really really easy to get to. So having that market there on Sunday, they had all kinds of stuff there for collectors of all different interests, but they did have a good few record stalls, which was brilliant. So I got chatting to a lovely chap by the name of Ivan, and he ran a stall which was in reference or connection to this company here, which he owns, called Britannic Records or Britannic Records. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. So there's his information there. And he was explaining to me, Ivan, who I found out was in his 70s, had brilliant English as well. He was a real pleasure to talk to. That the reason there that he's got an outline of the Shadows there, the group The Shadows. So he said it was the Shadow of the Shadows, which I thought was funny. And we had a bit of a chuckle about that. He just mentioned that the Shadows are his all-time favourite band. So I thought that was really nice. And we got talking about all the, all the super important stuff, football and football players and music in general and all kinds of things. So I spent a really, really good portion of time on Ivan's stall and chatting to him himself. So I did pick up 2 records off him, which I'm going to be showing you now. These were both in a €4 crate. He did have a lot of other very interesting stuff as well, but some of it I already owned, and some of it I probably just wouldn't collect myself. But they were all in lovely condition and very, very well priced as well. But these 2 that I found, I was really, really keen to pick up. So coming up first then, courtesy here of Britannic Records and Evan, is this record here. So that is Lena Lovitch with Stateless. And as we can see here at the top, we've got some guidance there on the pronunciation. So Lena Lovitch, US artist, and then Stateless, and she was on Stiff Records. And then there's the back, as you can see there. We'll talk a little bit more about them now. So yeah, so anybody who may be new to my channel, I will show the records off front and back, anything inside, any gatefolds, anything of interest, lyric sheets, etc. And then just name a few favourite tracks. So this one here's just got a plain inner on it there, as you can see, Stiff Records there. But it's in really nice condition. So the other thing as well is that with these 5 records that I have picked up in Zagreb, I have had a chance to play them all as well, which is great. I've made the time to do that upon getting home. I have been on catch up since getting back. I'm sure you can all relate to that when you take a few days out from work or whatever, and life in general, you are playing catch up to an extent. But I'm getting there now, and I have made sure that I've listened to all these albums and they all sounded fab. So I really enjoyed this one a lot. I'll be very honest, I don't know an awful lot about Lena Lovitch. The only song of hers that I was familiar going into this album is her absolutely iconic Lucky Number, which is... I don't think they're actually in the right order on the back. I don't think it was track 2. No, it isn't. It's actually track 3. Yeah, number 3, Lucky Number. I thought when I listened to it, I thought it wasn't track 2. So yeah, they're sort of out of order there. Yeah, they've got I Think We're Alone now listed at the bottom there as well, which isn't the final track on the album. So one of those unreliable track listings there that you sometimes get on albums, but I'll get into a few more tracks in a minute. So yeah, going back to Lucky Number, it's a great song, that one. For me, it is what I would call an example of pop genius. It's one of those songs that it's got this very, very quirky, very memorable construction to it. It's got that vocalized sort of type refrain to it, which just instantly stays in the head. I love songs like that where they just throw in a bit of a random curveball, but it makes it memorable. It just makes it stick. And Lucky Number was the song going into this that I knew very, very well, and I'm very fond of it. So that was one of the primary reasons why I wanted to go ahead and actually acquire this record. I mean, for €4 as well. And I saw that, I Think We're Alone Now was on there, which, I'm much more familiar with the Tiffany version. That was my reference point with that song growing up, having been born in the early 80s. And then I'm also familiar with the Ruben News version as well, which is like a power pop version. The version of on here by Lena Lovitch it's okay, it's pretty straightforward. But what I would say about this album throughout is that the playing is very, very competent indeed. So if you're into sort of your quirky post-punk, sort of a new wave style to it, then I would really recommend this album. I do think in places that her voice very much reminded me of Patti Smith. There was definitely a song on here that had a little bit of a lilting reggae feel to it, which did call to mind Redondo Beach from Patti Smith's album Horses. I mean, it wasn't like a direct carbon copy or anything of that song, far from it, but it just had a little bit of that flavour, a little bit of that vibe going on. So there were definitely times when I was listening to this where I was thinking of Patti and the voice, but she's a very striking artist in my opinion. This for me is a really good starting point in that it's made me want to explore Lena Lovitch on a deeper level. What else did I enjoy on here as well? Home was very good actually. That had quite an interesting set of lyrics on that one, which did definitely make my ears prick up. Um, and Writing on the Wall was another one that I enjoyed as well. But there wasn't a bad track on here, to be honest. But I'd have to say that the key track to listen to, just if you're not into Lena Lovitch or you're not aware of her, then please do listen to Lucky Number. That's definitely the one that if people out there do know of her or have got some vague recollection of her, that's almost, I would say, like her main song. And I would also recommend, yeah, I would say Writing on the Wall, um, Home, as I've already mentioned, and what else would I say? Sleeping Beauty was quite good as well. So yeah, there's a few on that to check out, but that was a nice start anyway. And Ivan was telling me that he was quite a fan of Lena Lovitch as well. So that was my first pick up over in Zagreb. Okay, now this album from Ivan. This is a group here that need no introduction at all. An absolutely iconic group of the 1960s here in the UK, went on to influence so many bands, lots and lots of offshoots as well from this group, you know, personnel that went on to play in other bands as well. And they were also a huge, huge influence on the Britpop era, which was the time, me being a teenager was when I first really started becoming not aware of them. I already knew about them, through relatives who were fans of the group, but started listening to them on a deeper level, becoming a bit more appreciative or a lot more appreciative of their influence. But to be completely honest, this is actually the first piece of vinyl by this group that I've got in the collection. I don't have any studio albums of this group at the moment. Come very close to acquiring them on occasion, but for one reason or another, usually due to either condition when I've pulled the records out in shops or maybe just been a bit out of my price range, I've ended up passing over and going to something else. But saw this for €4. It was like, yeah, I've got to have that. So here's my second and final pick from Ivan. And we have got here the Small Faces with their Greatest Hits. So yeah, lovely cover art, that really great picture of the group. So we've got Steve Marriott here on guitar and vocals. Got Kenny Jones there on the drums. Ronnie Lane, of course, on bass guitar and vocals as well. Steve Marriott and Ronnie Lane, the two songwriters in the group. And then we've got there Ian McLagan on keyboards as well. So yeah, superb group, the Small Faces. And this has got an excellent, excellent track list as well as you'd expect for a greatest hits. So just hold that up there. Hopefully you can get that in. What I will say is the live version of All or Nothing, it's just okay. I personally do prefer the studio recording of it. That's just my opinion. It's not, not a terrible version of it, but I would have liked to have had the studio version. But that is, that is nitpicking. But look at that. I mean, side one alone has got some of my favourite Small Faces tracks on there. I mean, I absolutely adore Richie Q Park. Always been one of my favourites of the group. Love Tin Soldier as well, which kicks off side two. For anyone interested, there's a very nice cover that Todd Rundgren recorded of Tin Soldier on his Faithful album. Just for anyone who might be interested in that. Afterglow is lovely as well. And then I absolutely love Lazy Sunday to finish as well. Always love the vibe and the feel of that track. And definitely while that one was playing, it was calling to mind, my Britpop sort of time, really. The likes of Blur and other groups definitely were mining that song and the Small Faces in general for inspiration. So yeah, and Here Comes the Nice as well. That's a good edgy track, that one. So there we go. Really, really nice collection there of the Small Faces. Great photograph there as well. Okay, so that was my two from Ivan. Yeah, there's no lyric sheets or anything of interest in that one. Okay then, so moving on to pick number 3. We've only got 5 in this video, as I mentioned before. So this was a market stall. Again, I was at the flea markets. This is actually my last pick from the flea market. So I got 3 from there, and then I went on to 2 other shops the day after on the Monday and got those 2 records, which I'll be showing you in a bit. So this was a stall that didn't have like a name or anything attached to it as such. It was extremely busy, so I didn't really get an opportunity to chat very much to the owner of the stall. But I saw this copy and I was made up with the album. The gentleman had about 6 copies of this record, actually, of varying degrees of condition. So I went for one that I felt was in really, really good condition, and I got it for a really fair price as well. I was very excited to get it because it's a new listen for me. For anybody who's been watching my channel now for a while, they will know that this is a group that I am playing catch up with, really. A group that, for whatever reason, one reason or another, just haven't or didn't back in the day really give them the time of day, if I'm being fair about it. Apart from one or two sort of huge hitters that everybody kind of knows and loves and owns, I'm now getting into this group on a deeper level and thoroughly enjoying what I'm listening to. So this one here was superb. I've already spun it a couple of times now, and it's actually already beginning to feel like it might be one of my favourites of this band that I've heard to date. So without any further ado, let's get to pick number 3. I was able to pick up a nice copy of Meddle by Pink Floyd. So yeah, so just to say at this stage, these are all original pressings as well. So they're all native to the nation. So obviously back in the day when this came out, this is a Yugoslavian pressing. So yeah, very, very happy indeed with this. It's got obviously the iconic cover art there of I believe that's a human ear submerged in water. And there's the back of it there as well. And then we've got, again, just another one of these, see-through plastic sleeves there. So that these 3 records so far have all got those on them. So they're on the Harvest label, no lyric sheets or anything. And then we've got the gatefold there with the group members. It's actually a really, really cool photograph, I think that. Really, really good. Hopefully I can get that in and you can see properly. There we go. It's got Waters, Mason, Gilmore and Wright there going across. Great stuff. So yeah, so initial thoughts on this record then. So really, really enjoyed it. Really did. One of these days just got my attention straight away with that sort of really pumped up bass line going on. It just sort of builds and builds and builds. It's quite an epic instrumental, that piece. It was just really, kind of drawing me into the experience of the record, which was excellent. Because I've only spun it a few times, I'm still getting familiar, with track names and stuff like that. And I'm sure it'll be, a bit of a surprise to people as to why maybe I don't really have more knowledge about Pink Floyd, based upon people who tune into me and know what I'm into. But, I'm always honest here. It's just one of those groups that, for whatever reason, back in the day, I was just listening to other things or probably preoccupied with other genres of music. So I've got, I'm getting there now with it anyway, and I've actually really enjoyed acquiring some Pink Floyd albums of late. Fearless was really, really enjoyable. I like that one a lot. I might be, pretty sure I'm correct in thinking that threw me for a loop a little bit when I listened to it for the very first time, and then you've got the football crowd at the end, the Liverpool Football Club crowd, chanting and singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," and it sounded really cool actually. I thought that worked really, really well. It just sort of came from quite left field, I felt, and it worked. I just was thinking, oh, what's going on here? This sort of just coming from nowhere, but it was really good actually. Given I'm a Man United fan as well, but it was I liked the use of that. It was just a really interesting kind of left field device, which did make me did definitely make me pick up and think what was going on there. And then there was a couple of other tracks on side one as well, which I thought were really nice. There was passages that were quite gentle in places. I think the singing of, David Gilmour and Roger Waters on the album, I enjoyed a lot as well. I think I'm correct in thinking that they both handle vocal duties on the record on different tracks. And then the only song that I would say, that I did kind of know of or had some familiarity with, probably through watching it on YouTube vids or, my father-in-law playing it on his CDs, CD player back at his house, would have been Echoes. That is the epic track that takes up all of side 2. And that was the one that as soon as that kind of kicked in, I was like, oh yeah, of course, I'm aware of that. I've definitely heard that one before. But everything else on side 1 to me, I just don't have any recollection of, ever playing them, either, hearing them at a relative's or even at the record shops I've worked at as well. Just didn't recall them at all. So it just felt like a really nice, fresh fresh listen, and I was really, really impressed with what I heard with Medal. So, you know, I've not got a lot of Pink Floyd records here in the collection, maybe only about 6 or 7 studio albums, but of the ones I've got, I was listening to this and thinking, yeah, really, really enjoying it. I mean, at the moment, I'd still say I really do love Piper at the Gates of Dawn. I really do love that one. Of course, you know, I've got Wish You Were Here, Dark Side of the Moon, Animals was one that I enjoyed a lot. The Wall as well, which was a bit of a journey listening to that one. So yeah, I'm still just continuing to expand my knowledge of Pink Floyd, and I know that there are people who tune into me who know way, way more about this group than I do. So it's always nice to get their opinions on things and for them to share their feelings with me. So please do let me know how highly you rate Medal. You know, is it a Pink Floyd record for you that you think is one of the very best? Is it underrated? Is it overrated? You let me know what you think. But me personally, very much up my street. I'm very pleased to have gotten it. There was a lot of things that I could have got from that stall. You know, he had some amazing records, but, you know, I had to kind of keep an eye on my budget, and I wanted to keep a bit of money over for the following day to go and check a couple of record stores out in the city. So that was my third take from the flea market, and it's a lovely, lovely copy as well. Okay, so just 2 more records to show then today. So at this point of the video, if you're still here with me, I really appreciate you listening to me, and I hope that you've enjoyed what I've shown you so far from my trip to Zagreb, my maiden voyage over there. And yeah, just, you know, do please get involved in the comments and let me know what you think of what I've shown, both so far and what I'll go on to show now. Okay, so I went a little bit further out into the city on the Monday. I went to an area, or I think, I don't know if it was the name of the area or the actual street, so you'll have to forgive me with that one. But it was called Tratinska, I believe is the pronunciation of it. And there was a couple of shops to each other that were in quite close proximity that have both got Tratinska in their, you know, area code, address, etc. So the first shop that I went to, where I'm going to show you the next record, was called, yeah, it was the Freebird Music Shop. So there's just a little leaflet there from the shop. So as you can see, it says there, it is the biggest second-hand music store in Croatia, and it was big. It was big. There was a lot to get through, and I took my time in there as well. Had a really good route and a good rifle through all those crates. There was a lot of different types of records, all various prices, which I thought were very, very fair. As you'd expect, the records that were in better condition or, you know, near mint were a lot pricier. But then they had some stuff as well that I thought were more than reasonable. A lot of, you know, sort of 3, 4, 5 euro crates and things like that. The one record that I did get from Freebird was definitely kind of more towards the higher end of the pricing, but it's a record that I really wanted, and I was really happy to pay what we agreed. You know, the chap even gave me a discount, which was very kind of him. But you can see there, you know, it's got listed there 15,000 items for as little as, you know, we're talking like 50 cents there, that type of thing for that. So it's like, you know, you really can't complain there. You know, they've got lots of rare different types of records according to the leaflet, and I did see a lot of these genres, you know, rock, hard, metal, prog, jazz, beat, psychedelic, British invasion, punk, new wave, indie, blues, industrial, funk, and classical. So records for every taste, every palate getting served up there in Freebird. So that was a shop I really enjoyed going to. I'm definitely going to be going back there as and when I get back to Zagreb. So I spoke to the chap in there who was on duty that day. He wasn't the owner of the shop, but I was having a good old natter with him. Again, his English was just amazing. I was so blown away by how fluent everybody was in my experience, and just really friendly, you know, didn't make you feel like you were kind of rushing them, or, you know, that you were being hurried along or anything. There was just people happy to talk to you, which was great. So I didn't get his name, unfortunately. I didn't catch it, nor the other chap in the shop that I'm going to be talking about in a moment. But yeah, we were just talking away. You know, he was telling me that he was a huge fan of the Stranglers, and he was into the Cramps. So we were having a great chat about the Cramps, telling me about some gigs he'd attended, you know, groups that had been over to Croatia in the past and stuff. So yeah, it was just a really, really nice guy, and, you know, really thoroughly enjoyed having that chance just to have a good old rummage and just have the chance to talk music. So let's show you this record then. So this came out in 1971 originally. This is a reissue that I've got. I've played it It sounds outstanding. It is a masterpiece of a record anyway, in my opinion. I've wanted to own it on vinyl for ages and ages. I've got one other studio album of this group in my collection, which came out in 1969. So you might be starting to wonder now who I'm talking about. I love that album as well. That album is a lot more, I think, a lot more upbeat and optimistic. This record, I think, is a bit darker, very gritty, very edgy. Even sounds quite paranoid, I think, in places as well, which I think is no surprise given that at this stage in this band's career there was a lot of tension, internally. I think a lot of substance abuse was going on as well. So this record here I'm going to show you now that I picked up at Freebird is There's a Riot Going On by Sly and the Family Stone. And what an absolutely fantastic front cover that is. So I wasn't aware of this cover at all of being in existence, so I'm only aware of the more typical, or the more well-known cover, which is the modified flag of the United States of America. So this here is as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, this is a little bit strange. I did wonder initially if maybe it was just a compilation of Sly tracks that had been given the same title, but then when I saw the track listed, I did know, of course, that it was the album. So this was a record that I did have on CD. Um, my relationship with Sly and the Family Stone started when I worked at HMV, and there was a chap that used to work in the stock room by the name of Carl. He was quite a bit older than me, was Carl, very, very knowledgeable about his music. He discovered that I was a huge Prince fan, and we, of course, got talking about Sly and the Family Stone. He was explaining to me in no uncertain terms that he felt that Prince was a bit of an imitator and that Sly was the innovator. Although he was a Prince appreciator himself, he very, very, wisely said to me, look, if you love Prince, I mean, I was like, what, just still, barely out of my teens at this point, maybe about 20 or something. He said, you really need to check out Sly and the Family Stone. So this was a record that or an album I do remember him playing to me when we worked at that shop together, and I was instantly blown away by it. Did end up getting it on CD from HMV, but then I've just always wanted to get it back, or well, rather get it again on vinyl. I've never owned it on vinyl before. So this is a really lovely copy. So for anyone who's interested, I will show you the label on this one because it's a reissue. So it is on Epic. There we go, that's the label. And I think this pressing, from memory when I did the research for it, I think this came out in 1986, this reissue. But it sounds fantastic. I mean, I was playing it through the speakers on my turntable, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful sounding album. And it is a great album. So, of course, that other record I was talking about before, for people who may be fans of Sly, is Stand, which I just think is an amazing album as well. So I'm a little bit torn at the moment as to which one I currently prefer, or which one I prefer overall. I think that they both have amazing merits, but I think this one for me might be one that I go back to more if I'm in the mood for it. I feel like Stand might be the album that's maybe the slightly easier, more, popular listen, one that's just a little bit more immediate. This one for me feels like if I'm in the right mood for it, then there's just going to be nothing better, because it is very gritty, as I mentioned in my opening words. But the songs on it are just absolutely fantastic. There isn't a single track on here that I don't like. In fact, I would, I love all of them really. And I'll just show you the back cover there for anybody who's, maybe seeing this cover art for the first time. So there we go. As I mentioned, there were definitely, there was a lot of strife in the group at this time, a very uneasy vibe, atmosphere going on. And, even the title of the album, There's a Riot Going On, that was in response to Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, which was also released in 71. I believe Sly and the Family Stone had a different title lined up for this record, but they changed it to that in response to Marvin's question. So yeah, so in terms of favourite tracks, wow, I will name three for people who are maybe not familiar with Sly and the Family Stone. So you're just getting really, really solid. Well, solid doesn't really do it justice. You're getting exceptionally good psychedelic sort of soul funk music. Really went on to have a massive influence on hip hop as well. Just a real innovator. Great vocal performances throughout. Some of the bass playing on it by Larry Graham is just exceptionally good. Love and Hate, I do love Love and Hate. That is a great way to kick off the record. Just Like a Baby, superb. Family Affair, that was a huge hit off the album. Probably one of the more well-known tracks, certainly from this album, maybe arguably in Sly's discography overall. Um, Thank you, yeah, thank you for talking to me. Africa is the lyrics. It's thank you for letting me be myself again, which is excellent. And for anybody who might be interested, and a post-punk group that I absolutely love, who came out of Manchester in the late 1970s, called Magazine, did a brilliant cover of "Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again." Really good version of that. Some amazing bass work on that from Barry Adamson. Um, Brave and Strong is excellent as well. But if I was going to sort of put it down to three tracks, well, four at a push, I'd say Love and Hate, Just Like a Baby, Family Affair, and Thank You for Talking to Me, Africa, on there as well. Just a great way to close things off. But that for me is an essential listen, that one, and a masterpiece of a record. And please do get involved in the comments and let me know, everybody, if you're a fan of this album. Maybe what I've said about it will prompt you to either revisit it or discover it for the first time. It has been years and years since I've listened to that. I mean, even when I had my CD collection, it wasn't an album that I put on all that much to my own, my own sort of detriment, really. It was one of those that I had it, I enjoyed it, had those memories of listening to it with Carl, but I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to get it again, and I'm so glad that I did. And that's a really nice copy. So that was a great experience there over at Freebird, and it's nice to have that alongside Stand as well in my collection. And I've got a greatest hits of Sly and the Family Stone as well, which for me is one of the best greatest hits of all time. Okay, then, so let's move on to my fifth and final record then that I picked up over in Zagreb. So again, this was in the Tratinska area, get my words out properly, and this shop was called the Dirty Old Shop. That one, Dirty Old Shop, and it wasn't located too far away at all from Freebird. Very different vibe in that shop. It was a young lad working in there, very friendly. He was quite right on it. How can I help you? What are you looking for? We didn't really chat all that much, just because he looked like he was busy doing some stock taking or something, and the music in there was pretty pounding as well. It was the one shop that I went into where the music was cranked up, which was great to hear. I can't remember what he was listening to. Sounded like some kind of you know some kind of like heavy metal thing or something or other. I didn't recognise it actually, but he was getting into it, which was cool to see. He looked like he was about in his 20s or something. But I took this record over to the counter. He gave it the nod of approval as he was putting it through the till for me. So that was good. And I told him it was an old favourite of mine. It's again one of these albums that I've wanted on vinyl for ages. Saw a really nice copy of it. This is a repress. It's brand new. So this is the only record I bought of the five that's actually brand new. The others were all second hand. So by way of Dirty Old Shop, I have come home with a really lovely copy of Rocket to Russia by Ramones, or the Ramones. There you go, Rocket to Russia. Can't beat it. Came out in 1977. Leave Home came out that year as well. So the big question I want to ask there, after that iconic debut, self-titled the year before, which do you prefer, Ramones fans out there? Do you prefer Rocket to Russia or Leave Home? So the quintessential punk album, got it on the hype sticker there. So this is a 2017 remastered audio version. It came out, superior remastered audio. This was ranked number 3 on Rolling Stone's 50 greatest pop punk albums. Only number 3. I wonder if it beats itself there with another release. I've not seen that list, so I don't know. It includes Rockaway Beach, Sheena is a Punk Rocker, and Surfing Bird. So, a couple of questions I've just given you. Do you prefer this one over Leave Home? Question number 2, Surfing Bird. So, do you prefer this version, or do you prefer the Trashman's version, or, if you're familiar with it, which is my favourite version of that song, do you prefer the Cramps version? I think the Cramps version of Surfing Bird is the best one out there, although Ramones do a pretty nifty version of it as well. And then we just got some other bits and pieces on here. I'll read them for interest and I'll show you the cover. So Rolling Stone in 1977 said Rocket to Russia is the best American rock and roll of the year. We've then got Robert Christgau, the very famous critic. Yes, folks, there's something for everyone on this ready-made punk rock classic, and he gave it an A, as he was known to do. He graded all of his albums that he reviewed. And then the Enemy said, the Ramones' first four albums stand together as the most toweringly aggressive, misleadingly primitive, perfectly phrased musical statement ever made. There you go. So the Enemy summarising the first four albums of this amazing pop punk group. Look at that cover as well. That is a cool cover. So we've got there Joey, Johnny, Dee Dee and Tommy. There we go. Tommy's on co-production duties, I believe, on this one. Yes, he is. And it was actually co-produced with Tony Bon Jovi, who is the cousin of John Bon Jovi, of Bon Jovi. And I think Tommy actually did end, I think he left after this album. I think he did. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think he, started going off to do more productions work and stuff. Pretty sure he did. So yeah, but that is the classic. I mean, that is the lineup, isn't it? That is, that's the Ramones, isn't it? Just an amazing group. So let's get the in or out of this one, because this has got something to show. None of the others did, actually. No lyric sheets or anything, but on this one here, there we go. Let's get it right up to the camera there. Give you a chance to take it all in. Lyrics and pictures and stuff there. But yeah, I mean, this was brilliant, sticking this one on. And to be honest, it's one of those, you could probably say that about a lot of records. It's like, why is it taking me so long to get a copy of it? I think it's just one of those where, you're either just waiting for the right time. I mean, you have to see it out and about as well, don't you? But, this was a really good price for it. It was brand new. I wanted to get something from that shop just because I wanted to kind of have a chance to get around a few different stores and get something, at least one thing in one shop in the area as much as I could. There was a few other shops that I did check out as well, but there was a lot of stuff in there that I already owned or just stuff that I wouldn't collect, but I really wanted to pick this one up. So yeah, I mean, geez, picking favourite tracks on this thing, wow. Well, it's an essential album. I mean, it's fast, it's furious, it's well, say it's furious. I mean, it's a little bit more cleaned up, I think, sort of a little bit poppier than the debut. That's probably a little bit rougher sounding, a bit edgier, but it's just really infectious pop punk. I mean, if you're not familiar with the Ramones, they are just short, fuzzy, brilliant cuts of just melodic perfection. Really, you got a bit, you got a bit of surf pop in here. Buzzsaw guitars. There's all kinds of influences, just straight up rock and roll in there as well. Just a really good mix of different sounds. So the iconic tracks. I mean, Sheena as a punk rocker is just, that is Ramones' classic. Well, they pronounce it Cretin Hop when Joey's singing Cretin Hop, I would say, but Cretin Hop sounds cool. Is a great way to open up the record. Rockaway Beach again is another absolutely superb tune. That one. Chewing out a rhythm on my bubble gum. The sun is out and I want some. Great way to start a song off, that one. Great stuff. Rockaway Beach, great song on the album. One of the very best on there. What else do we love on here as well? Teenage Lobotomy is another one that is a Ramones staple. The aforementioned Surfing Bird, it is a nice cover of it. Probably my least favourite though of the three. I'd say probably Cramps, Trashman and then Ramones third. Do You Want to Dance? Yeah, wow. Got to mention Do You Want to Dance? Yeah, just so catchy, so infectious and poppy, that one. Great stuff. But every single song on here is a winner. We're a Happy Family, I Don't Care, Lock It Love, Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to mention them all there. We're a Happy Family, Why Is It Always This Way, Ramona, Can't Give You Anything, I Want to Be Well. Yeah, really great album. Absolutely superb album, that. So, few favourites: Rockaway Beach, Sheena is a Punk Rocker, Teenage Lobotomy, Do You Want to Dance? Yeah, go for them four as a starting point, but yeah, just listen to the whole thing, honestly. Can't go wrong with that one. So very pleased to have that in the collection now. Rocket to Russia by the Ramones. Okay, so I'm all done and dusted, everybody. So that is my first trip to Zagreb, all completed. It's great to be home. As I said, I had a really enjoyable time. Very much enjoyed my experience and looking forward to going back. So Thank you everybody for tuning into this video. If you did enjoy what I did today, then please do leave a comment. Let me know how you found it. If there's any bits and pieces that I've either misremembered or got confused about, then please do correct me. I'm never precious about that stuff. I always actively encourage people to correct me because I like to get things accurate and do things properly. But I'm just talking here off the top of my head. So if some things sometimes get misremembered and mispronounced or whatever, then please do let me know. If you are new to the channel and you've enjoyed what I've done today and you want to join me in the community in taking refuge in records, then please do consider subscribing to the Vinyl Sanctuary. I would really appreciate it if you did. It does help the channel to grow. Please do put a thumbs up on here as well if you liked what I did. And if you do take that step to subscribe, then please don't forget to click your notification bell, and that'll make sure that you get an alert as and when I've got new content landing. So the only other thing to mention then in terms of what I've got coming up, I'm definitely going to have to get back to my final part of the All My Colours series. I'm aware it's been phased and stretched out, that one, but I need to get that final part done. There's just been so many bits and pieces in between, the trip to Croatia, the first birthday of the channel, my own birthday. There's been a few things in between, but that will be the next port of call for me, will be to wrap up that series. So if anybody's wondering what I'm talking about, please do have a look on the channel for the All My Colours series, and you can see what I've been working on there, on and off for the past, gosh, must be a few months now. There's already 4 parts recorded for that series, but there is the 5th and final part to do, and it will be a biggie. There's 18 albums to do in that one. So let's see what time that comes in at. If I can do that under an hour, then I'll be very, very pleased with myself. It might even be a bit of a record, that one. Okay, no pun intended. Right then, so I'm all done. Thank you very much, everybody. It's really nice to be back here in in the hot seat again, recording videos, even though it doesn't feel like it is really in real time. It feels like I've been away for quite a while, just because it's been a bit longer than normal until I've had a chance to do a video. So yeah, really nice to be back, and I thoroughly enjoy playing all of those albums there. It was nice to be able to get a chance to spin them all, and then I can talk to you guys about it in a more detailed and in a more educational way. Okay, so look after yourselves, everyone, and until next time, bye for now.